8 is what the time is at the moment. Good morning. My name is Ifeyemi Andrew, and we get into the conversation for this morning here on the Morning Crossfire. And today we would be speaking with the Rivers State Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Professor Peter Medee, and will be joining us on the show. At the moment, we're trying to establish contact. As soon as that is done, we would have him with us on the show, and we would be discussing, the River State budget, economic policies of the River State government, and most importantly, the impact of the increase in the cost of gas and petrol. How is that affecting you, affecting the economy? Does it have a toll on the implementation of the budget? Just all of the things around that we'll find out from the commissioner. But before we get on to him, quickly on Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, we need to hear from you. How are you feeling the impact? Are you feeling the impact of the River State government's economic policies? Are you feeling the impact yet? We want to find out. Remember, a few of them. Real was one of those that was put up to put out loans to single-digit credit loans to small businesses. And I remember having a conversation with Rima at the time on how people can access that loan for small businesses in River State. It was one of the programs that was put up by the state government, and money is invested in that program. And so far, if you have benefited from that, now would be a great time to also let us know. That's one. Then we had the economic summit that was held in River State. And you remember a lot was said during that summit that the River State government was looking at implementing economic activities. Power is a very fundamental one, especially now that state governments have been given the leverage to generate power. We celebrated the situation in Abia State, the power plant that was commissioned at the time. And River State government has also said it was looking at seeing what it would do with regards to power, which is very essential for businesses, small businesses, to thrive. Because if you look at the cost of petrol now, you will be amazed whether or not you would even have anything left to run the business. And let's also put into proper perspective, there are areas in this state where power is, for what it's worth, relatively constant. All right, yes, so back to it. There are areas where relatively we've had at least 20 hours of power supply to 18 hours of power supply. But people who do business in those areas still charge as though they are running their businesses using petrol. Yeah, that's the truth. It's a fact. We'll get into all of those details. But let me get over to my guest first, the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Professor Peter Medee. Sir, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. Hello, Prof. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Prof. Hello, Prof. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure the business of planning the economy of the state has not been a very easy one because you've been very occupied and it's been difficult to get a hold of you lately.
Like you can see, I think that's exactly the thing, but we're equal to the tax.
That's great news to hear. I'm sure Rivers people would be waiting to know or get an idea of what some of the policies are on ground. I'd like us to start on that note. The economic policies of the Rivers State government right now under your leadership, the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning. What plans should we be looking out for, especially now that in the country, I mean, it's something else economically with the standard of living, the cost of living, the price of items. Inflation is close to, if not more than 300%. What economic plans is the state putting on ground to help Rivers people and SMEs?
Well, thank you. You are aware that exactly about 2 weeks ago, the State House of Assembly passed the medium-term expenditure framework after it has been approved by the State Executive Council. My ministry was able to put up a very strong study group and also to collaborate with sister ministry as well as other key stakeholders to prepare the medium-term expenditure framework. That framework was able to x-ray the River State economy, the national economy, the continental economy, as well as the global economy. And we've been able to come out with an outlook to be able to predict what we are looking at for the next 3 years of River State. And the medium-term expenditure framework, which is a product of legislation, empower the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning to prepare that outlook so that we'll be able to predict the economy of the state for the next 3 years. So the medium-term expenditure framework is for 2025, 2026, and 2027. And the way it's being prepared is that you will look at 6 years behind. So if you take 6 years of River State behind, what is River State today and what is River State the next 3 years? So that's exactly what we've been able to come out with. So with that, we are what River State is going to be in the next 3 years.
Can we get
we're very hopeful and comfortable that with the kind of prediction and focus we have done, River State will not be the same. And based on that prediction, we are presently now preparing the budget of 2025. And that's what have been the assignment we are currently battling in the state. I just came back from the National Development Planning Council meeting in Nasarawa State, which we were away for 1 week to attend the Joint Planning Board for Nigeria and also the National Development Planning Board meeting, council meeting. So all that experience is what we are bringing to bear to be able to project His Excellency's vision. And you know, His Excellency's priority is on 3 key sectors. The agri sector, so that we'll be able to be sure for food security for Rivers people. You know, Rivers State is so blessed that we have the river where we can do all the fishing activities. We also have the farmland where we can do the other agri activities. So if you do that and compare with the livestock industry and the poultry and fishery industry, River State is going to come out with a basket of food that will be able to feed our people from the interest of the government. That's why he's taking security concern so that our people can go back to farm. In addition to that, he has been able to set up a task force to revitalize the Songhai farm. So if you look at that, then we are set that the agri sector for 2025 will be able to put food on the table of Rivers people. And if you look at the inflation we are having today in Nigeria, the inflation we are having today in Nigeria is such that we are having shortfalls in supply. And that's why we are not being able to match output with demand. And that's giving us some crisis. So His Excellency, first priority area is agriculture. Now from agriculture, His Excellency is also concerned about education, so that we'll be able to educate our people. You know, the educational sector in River State has gone comatose before now. No classroom teachers were not there, classroom blocks are not there, seats for children are not there, and that's why his priority is to say, how do we educate our people? Because if you educate our people
All right,
will be
Prof.
able to grow out of
Before we get
I hope
into
you give me
education and
some
other
time.
areas,
I hope you
quickly.
give me some time. I hope you give me some time.
Yes, we hope. That's why we hope we are started. We got you on the line quite earlier.
Yeah.
Would have helped. But we will take it step by
I'll be
step.
able to talk about, can you allow me to talk about the health sector? Because these three key sectors is key. You know, our people must be healthy, our people must go to school, and our people must have food to eat. Then every other sector will be able to supplement these three key sectors that the government is putting priority, so that we'll be able to grow our industry, we'll be able to grow our service sector, we'll be able to grow our tourism sector, and then we're coming out with a brand new River State that everybody will be proud of. You can see that we've done the fairest, most transparent election to be able to get our rural area up with the local government election. So I think Rivers people should just relax. They're in safe hands, and we are going to deliver a River State that will be full sufficient, a River State that will deal with out-of-school children, and a River State that will deal with malnutrition. That's the kind of River State we are coming out with. And with the sincerity of purpose, I'm very hopeful that our budget of 2025 will deliver that to River State.
All right, we have a short commercial coming, but I'll just throw in this very quick question so you respond as briefly as possible. You mentioned a forecast, and that you looked at it, and there's a forecast of what River State would be and what the plan is, and based on that plan, what you seek to achieve. So, if the plan that you have in place falls in, you're looking at falls in place, what is the forecast you arrived at? Can you tell us what the forecast is? What would be inflation rate in Rivers State at that time based on the forecast? There's something that is for the now that you are doing that the state to help navigate the tides that we're facing right now, while we see that futuristic plan, or wait for that futuristic plan to manifest. Please, because we have a short commercial, I'll just plead with you to hold on. We'll take it, and then you come back and respond to this question immediately after the break. So please, Commissioner, just stay on the line for us. On this book, it is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. We're streaming live. So at the moment, let us know.
Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Rivers, Professor Peter Medee, with us on the show. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. It's 8:08. That means we have about 30 minutes or less left on the show. Quickly get on Facebook at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH and let us know what your thoughts are. Several questions have been put out. One very, very important one is whether you are feeling the impact of the state government's economic policies at the moment. Let us know what you think. My guest has said there is a futuristic plan. We're looking at planning the budget for 2025 already, following the medium-term expenditure framework that the House had passed. And based on that, projections are being made. We hope to get more details about what those projections are and what economically the state would look like at that time. Thank you very much, Prof, for staying on the line. Hello? Hello, Commissioner. Thank you. Yes, thank you for staying on the line for us.
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So the question before the break was if Rivers people can get some more details, exact details of what exactly this futuristic
Medium-term expenditure framework.
Yes, and not just that. You said that some foresights into what the state would look like and projections that have been made. Can we get an idea, some specifics in that closest, maybe 1-2 years time? Is it that we're going to have production level go up to this level? Is it that we're going to have inflation come down to this percent based on what the general plan is? Can we have some more insight, accurate data on that?
Okay, thank you very much. Like we're discussing, your question has been about inflation, and if we'll be able to have some hope that we're likely going to have an inflation rate that will come down. The inflation we have today in the country is predicated on some factors that are actually beyond the state control, such that the state will not be able to say, look, we can manage the inflation. And inflation is a national average, not a state or a subnational average. And because it's not national, there's more little we can do about controlling inflation. Because if you look at inflation, there is the exchange rate pass-through that is causing inflation on the country. That is price of power in terms of price of diesel, which is used for output, for production, price of fuel for transport. There's also this phenomenal money supply increase, which the monetary authority keep doing. And then there's also the global inflation effect on the country. So these are what are actually outside the state control. The only thing the state can do to control inflation is to see our own little contribution in terms of increasing supply, like food and other productive activities in the state that can boost supply. And when you boost supply in the face of increasing demand, you'll be able to manage inflation to some extent, because inflation is not what the state can control, but what the state can control in this outlook, which we have concentrated our attention on, and that's why we're coming out with an expansionary budget, is unemployment. We can control the unemployment in Rivers State. We will not be able to control inflation. Though they are twin brothers, every policy you put in place to control inflation ended up creating unemployment. And so, for economic managers, it is left for you to say, look, if I want to solve unemployment, how many level of inflation would I tolerate? If I want to solve inflation, what is the level of unemployment I would tolerate? Because every policy, there is a direct reversal between inflation and unemployment. So policies you put in place to control inflation will end up creating unemployment, while policies you put in place to control unemployment will end up creating inflation through the transmission mechanism. So it's the state, the management of the economy, it is left for you now to be able to play with what is the level of inflation you want to tolerate to solve unemployment, or what is the level of unemployment you want to tolerate to solve inflation. So what we are doing in Rivers State is that we don't have control over inflation because inflation is a national outlook, but we have control over unemployment.
So what is being done to tackle unemployment?
Hold on. Can you hold on?
Yeah.
What we are trying to do is how many jobs can we create in Rivers State? And that's why we're concentrating on these three key sectors. You know, the agri sector has that capacity to absorb a lot of job creation. Then, if you deal with the health sector, you will also be able to get a healthy civil service and a healthy level of people who can work in the labor force participation rate. Now, when you have that, you can create create some jobs that will solve unemployment. And so what we are doing is that we're coming out with an expansionary budget. An expansionary budget in such a way that the budget of 2025 is going to be about 2 or 3 or 4 trillion billion naira above 2024 year. So if you add that to what we have in 2024, you're having, the government is having that robust fund that they'll be able to use to deliver dividend to the state in terms of creating more jobs. Because if we deal with the agri sector and create more jobs, we'll be able to deal with our unemployment. And you can see other sectors like the health sector, employment of doctors, the education sector, employment of more teachers. The governor has also graciously approved the 65 years retirement age for teachers. All that is to provide a robust outlook for our economy in 2025. So I can assure you that by the time the appropriation bill of 2025 is passed into law and implementation, which governor is putting more emphasis on, is taken seriously, which we trust that he will do, then we are going to come out with a River State that we will create more jobs. And if we create more jobs and increase our if we create more jobs, then we'll be able to beat inflation.
All right, well said. Now that you mentioned this, we'll go over to the budget. But before we get there, just quickly, is there anything short term in the immediate that Rivers people should know about economically to help stabilize the standard of living for Rivers people in the immediate before we get to 2025?
Well, like I said, you know, the implementation of the 2024 budget is still on. And you can see that as state get more funds, the state will be able to do more in terms of the immediate situation and solution to it. You know, one of our major problems today is poverty, and the level of hardship on the economy is more. That's why the government has approved the release of some social protection programs in the state in terms of the Rivers Care Program. The Rivers Care Program is currently being implemented. It's like a short-term program where we are dealing with direct cash transfer to vulnerable people and the poor people. We are also doing some effort with the Fadama in the agricultural sector, which is another result area. Then we are also dealing with small and medium-state enterprises. You are aware that His Excellency approved a 4 billion naira sub-loan to our medium and small-term and nano enterprises. Those are also short-term mitigation effort to mitigate the hardship on the economy. His Excellency has also rolled out some free buses. You know, this shock on the economy as a result of both internal and external efforts have been able to put some hardship on our people. And that's what His Excellency is doing for approving some of these social protection programs that will be able to put short-term measures that will put people and graduate people out of hardship and poverty. So that's what we are doing. As we speak today, we are dealing with those direct cash transfer program, we're dealing with agriculture program, and we're dealing with medium-term expenditure, nano and medium-term enterprises to grow businesses in the state, to reduce hardship in the state, and to create some jobs in the state. So we're doing that.
Okay. And then now to the budget. I mean, we saw the judgment that came in from the Court of Appeal. And many have said how threatening is that to most of the things you said with the 2024 budget and the 2025 budget.
I'm an economic manager, I'm not a political manager, and I will not be able, neither am I a lawyer, I will not be able to go into that. What I need to do is to see that Rivers State have a budget they are implementing to deliver value to Rivers State. Everybody fighting Rivers, and the target is to target the budget of Rivers State. Don't mean well for Rivers people, because you don't play with budget. When you play with budget, you are playing with the life of your people. So my concern is not whether there's a judgment or there's no judgment. My concern and my role is to see that there's a budget for Rivers people. And the budget for Rivers people has already been passed into law. So whatever is the law of Rivers State, no federal agency, no federal court can nullify a law that an appropriation that have been signed into law. So I think they are wasting their effort and their time by targeting the budget. The budget of Rivers State is sacrosanct. It has been passed into law. And so no other law in this country, not even the Supreme Court, can nullify a law that the governor has signed into law. And so they are wasting their time. We are not concerned about them. They are in dreamland. What we are doing now is to continue to do our 2025 budget, because we are finished with 2024. What we are doing with 2024 now is to implement it and deliver value to Rivers people. And Rivers people will be more happy when a budget, they are feeling the impact of a budget, than when people are going from court to buy judgment to be able to stop a budget that already has been passed.
All right, let's take some messages on Facebook. Tammy says, in layman terms, what is inflation? Can the outlook at the comparative advantage in the local government areas, for example, Echie, Ogoni, all are good in farming. Asari, Toro, Boni, and etc. are okay in fishing. Thank God says, things are really tough for Nigerians. Both federal and state government should expedite action to solve the problems. Ijoma says, those of us in the village were passing through serious hardship. We buy petrol for 1,004 to 500 naira per litre. So for me, no impact. Talking about unemployment, will it be open to people who have nobody at the top? Any loan for business? Is there any loan for business owners in Rivers State? That's thank God ability at Twigbu. Okay, I'll just let you respond to that. Okay, I'll add one more. Justice says nothing is happening at all, as if no government, no policy, and if there is, it's not going down at all. We only see and hear. All we see and hear is politics and fighting for structure. All right, so someone is asking about the loans for businesses, if there is any, and another person is saying, well, for the employment thing, I hope it's going to go down to the grassroots. How did the government, will the 2025 budget, did it consider, is it considering the inflation we have now with the price of petrol, as an increase in gas? Is there any consideration about all of this? And that's for 2025. And for 2024, how is it affecting the implementation?
Thank you. Well, like I said, inflation is not directly under the control of subnational. And as a subnational, which our state is, will not be able to deal with inflation, because inflation is a national problem. But what we can deal with is unemployment, which I've said. And like the person who asked if the employment will be open, if you watch what His Excellency the Governor is doing, you will see that it's a very transparent system. This is a system you don't need anybody to say, because you have somebody in government, then if you don't have anybody in government, you will not be able to have anything. No, this government is very transparent, whether you have somebody in government or not. Once you are qualified for an appointment, you are qualified for employment, you will be employed. So that I want to assure that. What we need to do now, everybody should go back to farm. do your own little farm. As I'm speaking, I have my own little farm. If you are able to do your small farm, even in your compound, you put a small farm there. Of the economy by growing the little food you can also eat, so you don't go and buy everything. Those in the village should be able to do that. That's why His Excellency is doing very well to create security. So when you solve security and there is no insecurity, people can go back to their farm. The problem we have in the country today is that there was high level of insecurity and people cannot go back to their farm. But you can attest that today, the River State today under His Excellency Simanai Fubara is a river state that people can now go back to their farm. As people go back to their farm, once we get more harvest into it, and then there's an increase in output, then we'll be able to solve our local inflation. Let's solve our own local inflation by increasing the little production we can do. Because whatever you produce is an increase to it. For example, if you produce 10 cups of gari today, and you are now eating the 10 cup of gari you produce, you have also reduced the demand for gari in the market that would have been able to increase the price with local economics. That when demand is higher than supply, the prices increase. So if you are able to produce 3 tons, 4 tons of cassava today, you'll be able to reduce the demand for cassava. If you are able to produce tomatoes, you are able to produce okra in your farm. So we all need to do all that, just as His Excellency is doing his best now to revive the Songhai farm, revive the fish farm, and also see that we have food security. That will help us a lot. So that's everybody's business.
Okay, let's take a few calls. 0817 923 00.
And because we don't have control. Hello?
Hello, Commissioner. You were saying something.
Yes, and I'm saying that we don't have control over fuel price. Those are all national policies. But what we need to do is to position our state such that we will be insulated of this shock, both internal and external shock.
All right.
You know, there are a lot of external shock that is affecting our economy, and there's also internal shock that is affecting our economy. Those internal shocks from national policies that is affecting our economy, we need to position, and River State government as a subnational economy is positioning River State so that the impact of the shock on the Rivers economy will be insulated so that it's not going to be more. And that's why we're doing most of these social protection programs.
Okay. Let's take a few calls quickly. We're already out of time. 0817 923 0007. You can also call 0817 923 0002. 0817 923 0007 and 0817 923 0002. This one says, please tell the Commissioner that I'm yet to feel the impact of state policies in agriculture. What is the state doing with the cassava factory in Oyigbo? Food items like gari, etc. are still very high. I fear that these policies may end on planning stage, for the implementation has always been the challenge. John, you sent that one in on WhatsApp. Leighton Barry from Bori, quickly. Let's hear you straight to the point. Good morning.
Good morning, Ifemi Andrew.
All right, keep it very short, please. We don't have a lot of time. Leighton Barry.
Yes, we are talking about economy. I really want to ask, what does River State produce? And for instance, we want to place a budget as we're about, I think budget is about being prepared now. What actually, just like when we want to do a budget, we'll say, okay, we'll place our oil on the benchmark of 77 naira or whatever. What does River State produce of which they can say, okay, in this budget, this is our benchmark? Two, sorry, let me leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chima in GRA, quickly. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yes, and good morning to the Honorable Commissioner. Andrew, mine has to do with not actually feeling the impact of policies of government right now in River State. I think to an extent the governor policy is not deliberate enough, so we are not feeling the impact. Now, there was a time he paid that visit to Songhai Farm. We thought by now Songhai Farm would have been ready and functioning. But last time we checked, we saw that the governor actually consider committee. You know, so all this and that is not actually deliberate to me. You understand? It's not going down well with me. I can tell you personally. Then looking at the Rumosi, this is string farm. So I think the governor, for me, the policy is crawling. It's not moving fast.
All right, Chima.
Come up with policies that we give that impact to rivers, considering the event of things that is happening right now in the country.
All right, Ida from Nkoro, quickly, good morning.
Yeah, Andrew, good morning.
Yeah.
Honorable Commissioner, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to please the Commissioner for, please, come to Nkoro, have many land and have farmers there to please help the farmers there. But there are many lands, if they want us to give them land, we give them land. And we need fertilizer for those who are farming there. Thank you very much for that.
All right, and then Chima and Rumokuta, good morning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Efemi. Good morning, Mr. Commissioner. The Commissioner spoke about controlling of inflation in the state. I want to give him an idea. Inflation can be controlled in the state if the state government can subsidize food. Why will he do it? You can import flour and you call a meeting to all the bakers in River State, and when the River State government imports flour from where they're importing it from, they can subsidize it to them. And when they begin to produce the bread, they will reduce it. And when you talk about, again, the only Shanghai farm, we have creating jobs in River State. No, we have enough jobs that have already been created in River State. What is holding the employment? For almost 2 years now, we have been talking about employment. Let the state government subsidize and let's subsidize the aspect of employment. We have what are they calling it, Buguma fish farm there. Nothing is happening there. Even the string factory at Rumosi, there are so many places you can employ River State indigenous. And we can reduce it to the inflation we're talking about too.
All right, Chima.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have less than 3 minutes. Honorable Commissioner, we'll come back to you and just throw this one that came in on WhatsApp. Do we have an idea of how many manufacturing industries, companies are in River State? How many manufacturing? Because for many, we don't have an idea. We don't know. As little as rubber slippers, we don't know if we have a company in River State that produces that or manufactures that. Over to you now. We have less than 3 minutes. So.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Well, you know, and you will all agree with me that the Excellency inherited a battered economy in River State, an economy in River State that was not interested in productivity. That's why all the productive assets of government in the state went comatose, and that's what we inherited. And some of these industries you are talking about has some ownership problem that need to be dealt with. When you talk about the string industry was what the previous administration put in, and there are some conditions under which those industries were put in, either PPP or build ownership, build, own, and operate, or build, operate, and transfer. Some of those ownership structure need to be dealt with by government, and that's why it looks as if it is slow. But His Excellency is actually not slow. He's going down to earth to deal with those problems. The Songhai farm and all that, all those farm has ownership structure that needs to be dealt with. Some of them were under litigation. And let me tell our people that economic policies work with lag. A policy you put in today, you may not get the result tomorrow morning. You may get the result in short term, in medium term, and in long term. So what our people need to do is to be patient with this government, because you need to understand that the workings of government is not automatic. There are a lot of processes you need to pass through, and a lot of protocols you need to pass through to be able to deliver in government. So that's why.
Hello, Honorable Commissioner. We have a few seconds left.
That is, it works with lag. And because it works with lag, people need to be patient so that we'll be able to deliver value. And you know, when you talk about unemployment and employment, direct employment in civil service, all that you are heard that they were on it before the minimum wage came in, and they need to harmonize all that.
All right.
Government finances and income into
Honorable Commissioner, we have to say thank you here. We're already out of time. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time discussing with you. We'll continue with this so we get insight into what the government is doing. Thank you very much.